everybody, welcome back to another episode. My name is Darren, and I hope you enjoy the show. Today we have something different. We're looking at the PROVA903. This is a data logging true RMS 0.03% DC and 0.1% AC multimeter. It's 60,000 count resolution, 200 kilohertz maximum bandwidth, and as I said, it is a dual channel. It has data logging with up to just under 11,000 records for both channels, and that is done either standalone or you can feed the data to your computer via an RS-232 cable. It ships with free software, and the software is actually pretty good. It does resistance, capacitance, continuity. It does everything pretty well except temperature. So if you need temperature, you're going to have to look elsewhere. Now, first off, the one thing you'll notice right away is the quality of the meter is really nice. It's almost fluke-like in terms of the plastic molding that it utilizes. It's very nice, solid feel. Very good in the hand. Doesn't feel cheap. It weighs probably about the same as my Fluke 87.5, maybe a tad less, but pretty well on par. Excellent selector switches themselves. Very nice. Very tactile, good quality. Of course, we're going to take this apart a little later and take a look at the insides, but initially, I think you'll be happy with the way it looks and performs. It comes with your dual channel. So in the bottom we have channel 1, and in the top is channel 2. And you can actually change that by holding the channel selector switch. So if you want to prioritize channel 2, for instance, there you go. Hold it down again, and now we're back to channel 1. The numerics, the LCDs on the bottom are a little bit larger than the top, but that being said, the liquid crystal display is very crisp, very clear, and very little glare. Now, one thing I have to point out is the fact that this meter does not have a backlight. So if you work in the dark, you're going to have to look elsewhere or bring a flashlight. But I use this basically as a bench meter, and normally you have very good lighting on the bench. So the display itself is very crisp, very clear, and generally I really haven't found a need for the backlight. Okay, so we're going to start today's testing with the voltage test, and I brought in a Keysight 1231A and a Sanwa CD732 just for comparison purposes. Okay, so starting off at 1.5 volts, they're all showing 1.5. Now we're up to 1.6, 1.68. Of course, the PROVA903 has a 60,000 count resolution. The other two meters are both 6,000 count, so you will have a slightly higher display reading on the Prova. Up to 5.1 volts on the DC power supply, showing us 5.2 on 0.15 on the Prova. 5.192 and 5.193 respectively for the Sanwa and the Keysight. Let's bring it up to 12 volts. Okay, so 12 volts we're showing 12.145, 12.1 and 12.1. A little bit of flutter. Actually, the Keysight and Sanwa are both pretty well on par. The Prova seems to be about 1 count high. Okay, let's take it up to 20 volts. Alrighty. So 20 volts we have, and 20.0 spot on for the Prova, 20.06 and 20.07. So they're pretty well neck and neck. Bring it up to the 30 volts. If you can hear that, but the fan is starting to kick in on the power supply. So we'll max it out at the top. For this power supply, it's 31.4, and we're showing 31.5455 for the Prova, 31.5 for the Keysight, and 31.51 for the Sanwa. So in terms of the DC accuracy, they were pretty well all neck and neck. I'd say perhaps the PROVA is just a slightly bit higher, maybe by a count or half a count, but all in all, not so bad. Now what we're going to do, let's take a look at the bar graph. So I'm just going to zoom in a little bit closer. And I'll start going up and down through the voltage range, and we'll just compare the speed of the graphic display. We'll see which one seems to be better. Alrighty. Okay, so I'm going to bring it down, and we'll start the display, and we'll just see which one updates quicker. Okay, so it looks to me like we have a little bit of lag on the PROVA903. I'm basically cycling from 18 to 25 volts right now. Yeah, so I'd have to give this this round to the Sanwa in terms of the graphical display. It's definitely quicker. The Keysight is right behind it, and unfortunately in last place is the PROVA. A little bit of lag, but okay, there you have it. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn the voltage completely off, and we'll just see. So I'll set it at 31 volts, and I will power down the voltage. We'll let it settle, and then we'll see if we have any spiking or surging on any of the meters. Okay, so it's powered down. I'm going to cycle up right away to 31 volts. All right, we had a quick over limit on the PROVA, and the other two seem to handle that without any problem. Try that again. Power down. Let them settle. As you can see, the Keysight's pretty quick at settling. Power up, and okay, so no over limit for the PROVA this time around. And we'll try it one more time. Let them completely settle. And power on. Okay, so quick over limit on the PROVA. Once again, both the Sanwa and the Keysight hit that 31 volt mark almost instantly. So a little bit of a discrepancy with the PROVA when you have that quick little power surge. So, okay. The one thing I thought I would point out quickly as well is even though neither the Sanwa nor the PROVA has a backlight, the Keysight does, and the Keysight backlight is on. In fact, I can turn it off, and according to my eyes, it looks like the PROVA definitely has the best display. Crisp, vibrant, lively, let's call it. The Keysight's a little bit washed out, and the Sanwa isn't bad, but it's just not as crisp as that PROVA. So, as I mentioned, even though there is no backlight functionality with this PROVA903, the display itself is quite apt at giving you a really good overall look. Okay, we're going to do a quick capacitance testing next. Stay tuned. One of the nice things about this meter is the fact that it is dual channel. I have a Acer mainboard. It is a defective mainboard. There is a couple of problems with it. Bad MOSFET, amongst others. But just for demonstration purposes, you can see here I have, let me just move this up for you a little bit. Okay. So here I have the meter connected to the ground on the motherboard itself, and I have one of the positive leads hooked right into the power adapter pin. So on channel 2 we're showing is 19.5 volts. So we know that the laptop power supply is good. And with the second channel we can actually continue troubleshooting. So I can Continue probing, seeing how the voltage is in. It's a very handy feature. So, got another mob way over here. If you download the schematic for a particular mainboard, it'll tell you what the voltage parameters are for everything from the MOVs to the transistors, the ICs, what have you. So you can go through the varying gates and you can troubleshoot and check the voltages. And within no time, you can usually find whether you have a dead short or what have you. But when one multimeter can do the function of two, it's always an added bonus. So yeah, it's one of those features that comes built in, obviously, with the PROVA. So if you do a lot of mainboard troubleshooting, as I do, it's really nice to have. Sometimes, for instance, I was testing a motherboard last week, and the power supply, initially I was using a different meter, and the power supply was showing as a constant 19.5 volts, so I started probing elsewhere on the mainboard afterwards, and you know, things just weren't adding up. And I had gone back to the power supply, did another measurement, and once again it was showing as around 19 volts. Long story short, I pulled out my PROVA903 and I kept one of my positive leads on the 90 volt input. And sure enough, I could see that within about 20 seconds, the voltage had gone down from 19 volts down to about 2 volts and then up again. So right away, because I had this meter, even though I was testing other parts of the board, I could still monitor that 19 volt circuit, and it was faulty. So yeah, very handy dandy, and super nice to have. So once again, with this particular meter, you have the bottom channel here, which is channel 1, and the top is channel 2. And you can specify which one you want to be prioritized by clicking on the channel display. So for instance, I just switched to channel 2 now as the main one, and the little down arrows pointing to the channel 2 in auto mode. And you can, once again, do the same thing. Has the typical max min and hold, so you will get a readout of your maximum and your minimum voltage, current, what have you. And at the same time, it's the hold. Now, it's not a touch hold like the Fluke, but it's nice to have at least the max min feature enabled. This does a maximum of 40 ohms in terms of the resistance mode. I'm not going to test any resistors today, but I will check the capacitance mode, and we'll be doing that next. Okay, so this PROVA903 has a capacitance rating of 1000 microfarad. So rather than going through all the ranges, I'm going to see if we can at least get the limit that this meter is supposedly capable of. So I have a typical 1000 microfarad 16 volt electrolytic cap, and we're going to see if this works. Alrighty, so its cap is on. You see we have the hourglass come up. That means that it's charging and discharging the capacitor. And wow. Okay, so hey, what's up with that? Okay, let's try that again. I'm going to disconnect. And let's reconnect. Maybe that was just a snafu. It should be able to read this 1000 microfarad capacitor. Oh, wow. Okay, so fail. Unfortunately, the PROVA903 cannot reach its stated limit of 1000 microfarad. Okay, I've brought in my venerable Maztec 5308 LCR tester just to verify that the capacitor is actually good. And yeah, indeed it is 992 microfarad. And all as well. So, go figure, PROVA. Okay, so next we're going to try the continuity feature, and I'm just going to use the standard jack probes that the meter ships with. Actually, it ships with a set of regular test leads, as well as these input jack probes, and they're really quite nice. So here we go. So instantaneous. Yeah, no problems whatsoever there. Nice and quick. Nice and loud. A little scratchy sounding, but that's just because we're using these leads. Just for the sake of it, and since they're handy, I will hook up these probe masters and we'll just try the same continuity. Okay, here we go. Perfect. So no complaints. Nice, quick, loud. I like it. Okay, so now we're going to take a look at the inside of the PROVA903. First of all, as you can see, it is made in Taiwan. Now, to gain access to the battery compartment, you simply have the one screw. And voila. So once you're inside, you've got access to the 9-volt battery. And as you can see, we've got 2 fuses, and we do have fuse access. Now, I wish this was actually completely uncovered because it's still going to be a little awkward, but you will be able to remove the fuses without having to take apart the entire meter. So that's always nice to see. Okay, now we're going to take it a step further and go right inside. Okay, so it comes off simply 3 screws, one for the battery compartment and the other 2. Right away you'll see that the 3 screws all have brass inserts. So that's really nice to see. And my first impression is it's a very, very busy PCB. We've got a combination of mostly SMD, but there is some through-hole components. Now those fuses are really nice. They're both ceramic, and wow, on the 10 amp scale we've actually got a 20 amp fuse. So that's this guy right here. So they've doubled the amperage rating on the 10 amp. So excellent, excellent. And the other is the 1 amp, which is what it is rated for. I know the IC itself is covered up. I'm going to see if I can find more information on that particular IC. Here we have the RS232 optical feed. We have the speaker here on top. A lot of capacitors. Diode array down here. We do have some trim pots. And going down a bit further, now the actual input jacks themselves are very well soldered actually. If you look, very nice, very clean. We're going to take this apart further. We're going to open it up and we'll take a look at the other side as well, but I don't see any issues in that department. We do have some gaps over here. pretty decent gap on the circumference of the meter itself for generally very nice, very clean. Now, right off the get-go, I'm not seeing any input protection such as PTCs or MOVs, but something's telling me it's on the other side of the board, as well as there's no current shunt here. So we're gonna take this apart one more step and I'll be right back. Okay, so we had a total of 7 tiny Phillips screws to remove. And one nice thing actually about this particular board is that all of the screws that have to be removed to get to the other side of the PCB, they have this really nice brass surround. So it's basically a no-brainer. You know which ones to remove. One thing I didn't point out as well is we have these long black lines here that are insulated, and one of them is going from the COM, and I believe that's for the dual channel display. Okay, so we're gonna carefully take this guy out and turn him over. Whoa. Okay. So, okay, we'll start with this side first since there it is. So we have some really nice, clean tracks there. They look to be gold plated, and very nice, very clean. This is the all part of the display board itself. Has the pin connector inputs, and just matches up with those. So that's what feeds the display. And once again, we've got our nice 2 big fuses over here. Very clean. I'm not going to remove it any further than this, but I think this pretty well tells you that it's very nicely made PCB. Very clean. And we'll take a look at the other side. Alrighty, so starting over here with the current shunt, and nice big current shunt actually. And we have a nice little bit of insulation down here, so it's does make contact with the PCB. It's not going to burn it out, what have you. Alrighty. So we do have PTCs as well. That's where they were hiding. So they're not the big massive ones, but at least they're there. Alrighty, so we have a couple of nice big fat resistors here. And if we take a look at the input jacks themselves, really nicely done. Very well soldered. Actually, yeah, they're not going anywhere. Got a huge solder ball on the back, and super sturdy. And those are going into those big plastic jacks as well. So those should last a lifetime. Doesn't matter how many times you take out or put in those probes. Alrighty. And as I said, we have a couple of PTCs, and we have this guy down there. That's rated at 1.5 thousand volts. Okay, so as we can see, we have the nice big current shunt, and right underneath it we've got another capacitor down here. We have a total 4 PTCs on this PCB. So there's 2 on the top, and the other 2 are here. So the input jacks, very nice, very nicely done. Really well soldered on the other side. And yeah, those inputs are just really well done. They're not going anywhere. Scroll down the board, we have some through-hole resistors over here, some MOVs, and right down over here, that is our, I believe that's a Analog Devices 8637. So that would be the high precision RMS to DC converter. And that's that guy right there. So generally speaking, very nice, very clean, and sometimes you see these PCBs and they're just like completely full of components, what have you. Not to say that this isn't, but yeah, you've got a lot of space, a lot of gapping going on, and look at those two big 10 meg resistors over here, shielded as well. So yeah, generally speaking, very nice, very clean, and I like it. Would have liked to have seen a couple of mauves, but that being said, I think in terms of input protection, it's pretty darn good. So, okay, I'm going to put this bad boy back together and be right back. And I wanted to point out as well that yes, the underlay is shielded. So you have really nice thick shielding on there, and it's on the perimeter as well. So that's pretty good coverage. This is the fusing lane, the cap, the battery rather. Yeah, so there you go. We do have some nice shielding on the PROVA903. Next, we're going to look at the software that it ships with. Be right back. Alrighty, so to launch the software, if you're running Windows 10, Windows 8, Windows 7, after you set up the initial CD application, it'll leave a shortcut on your desktop, and in this case it's just simply called Digital Multimeter. Just double click on your desktop shortcut and it will bring up the main screen. Now the one problem with this software is that it's not capable of filling up your entire screen, so you can't go full screen. So I don't know what the software developers were thinking, but yeah, that's a little annoying. Now I believe this is some sort of port from National Instruments testing software. I'm not 100% on that, but that's my suspicion. That being said, the software is very good. It's very robust. It's very customizable. Here you can see we have both channels being displayed. So we have 119 and 5.04 millivolts. Once the software is running, you can do a variety of things. You can download the data from the meter directly. In order to do that, just go up to the top of the toolbar menu and click on Download Data. It's going to prompt you, are you sure? And click on yes. So the data begins the download. Doesn't take too long normally, usually less than a minute. And once the data has been downloaded, it will automatically be removed from the meter. Once again, this meter is only capable of around 11,000 entries. So if you do not download your data or use the data, it will begin to overwrite once you've reached that threshold. So just beware of that. In terms of the meter itself, I'm sorry, not the meter, the software application itself, as I said, it's quite customizable. You can change the colors, the line styles. Okay, so it's finished downloading the data, sorry, and it will ask, how do you want to save it? Here you can give it a particular file name or date association, what have you. In this case, I'm just going to click on OK, and just put in anything here, and there you go. So now we have the data safely stored on the PC. As I was saying, it is a fully customizable viewing application. You can change the colors, the line styles, the width. You can go anti-aliasing. You can change the bar plots, the file baseline, interpolation, you name it. Quite customizable in that respect. So as you can see, the graph itself, it's fairly verbose. You can change how the wave lines look, everything else. Once again, my only concern or critique with this particular software application is the fact that you can't go full screen, and we're looking at this software on a 24-inch monitor, and sometimes I'll be data logging live, and I will have to come back into the office because it's just too, the display is just too small if you're the other side of the room. So if you really want to see something verbatim, I'm gonna have to walk up to the screen and look. It's just too bad that we can't push this into full screen mode. But anyway, it's neither here nor there. You can clear your meter, the database either directly from on the meter itself, or you can use the software to clear your memory. You just choose it from the data logger prompt at the top of the toolbar, and you want to clear memory, and we do yes, and you will hear a slight beep in the meter, and that means you have a cleared 0 data logged meter, so you can start recording again from scratch. The software itself, once again, it's been used on varying operating systems. Right now it's currently on Windows 10, and I've had 0 problems. This software has run for up to 48 hours, so about 2 days non-stop, and I've not had any issues whatsoever. It's very stable, and if you have a fairly, let's just call it mid-range computer, you don't need any fancy high-end machine to run the software. And in fact, this particular machine that it's running on right now is only has 4 gigs of RAM, so it's a low-end machine, but handles the software beautifully. So in a nutshell, that is the digital multimeter software application that ships with the PROVA903, and it is free, which is a huge bonus because a lot of times these meter manufacturers will give you the software for an additional $100, $200, $300, you name it. It's ridiculous, especially if you're getting a meter that's designed for data logging. The software should be included with the actual device. Once again, it's an RS-232 port, so in the back you have that one cable connects directly to the computer itself. The only snafu that the end user might have is when they're initially setting up the application, because it is a virtual COM port. If you do have an issue, just go ahead into the COM port settings. In this case, it's under help, and you could scroll down, and eventually you will find the virtual COM port that your computer is using. Alternatively, you can go into your control panel device manager, and you can unplug the meter in real time and plug it back in, and you'll see exactly which virtual COM port that meter is on. Other than that, software installs effortlessly, and once again, it is a bug-free environment. So there you have it. That is the digital multimeter software for the PROVA903. So, closing thoughts on the PROVA903 True RMS 60,000 count data logging multimeter. It's a mixed bag. I like a lot of its functionality. I like the way it's been put together. It's a good feeling, solid, robust multimeter. It looks good with or without the boot. Speaking of the boot, there it is with the boot on. Really nice, well molded, and definitely it's going to withstand some bumps and grinds. One thing I don't like, the fact that it has no backlight. This day and age, it's really nice. Yeah, it's on the bench most of the time, but every now and then, backlight certainly would, be nice to have. Do I miss the backlight? No. Once again, the display is very clear, very crisp, very vibrant. The LCDs are extremely easy to read, and overall, it's a really pleasant viewing experience. Software is very nice. It's free. It's pretty robust. Has quite a lot of functionality, and the fact that you can upload your data and continue recording is a big plus. It's a pricey meter. This meter retails for approximately $350 to $400 Canadian. That's around $280 to $300 US dollars. It's a lot of meat on that potato. I don't know if it's actually worth that amount of money. If you're going to get this multimeter, try and get it on sale. I had purchased a couple originally from an electronics distributor in Canada. They no longer are carrying this particular unit, but it is still retailing for around $350, $400 Canadian. So if you can find it in the $150, $200 mark, I would say if you can find it for $150 US, grab it. You know, the dual channels are great, and it's really a very well made multimeter. So in a nutshell, I'm going to give the PROVA903 dual channel multimeter a solid 3.5 out of 5 stars. And I will just add that I'm going to be running a, let's call it a giveaway. When we reach the 250 subscriber mark, every subscriber will be put into a pool, and a lucky subscriber will win a new multimeter. And I'm going to be doing this at the 250 mark, so 250, 500, 750, and 1,000 subscribers. Each time we hit that, existing subscribers will be automatically entered. So in order to win that multimeter, all you have to do is be a subscriber. And like I said, that's going to be a total of 4 meter giveaways. So good luck. I hope you enjoyed this review. Until the next time, keep on testing.